What's up, everybody? It's your favorite moment of the year's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at our top worst figures of the year. This is going to be the culmination of all the stuff we've looked at this year on this channel. It's going to be the figures that I've purchased, the figures that I've had the opportunity to review, that I had to send back, the figures that were loaned to me from viewers' personal collections to take a look at. It's going to be a big moment. We're going to do the top 5 most disappointing figures of the year. The top 5 surprisingly good figures of the year. The bottom 5 worst figures of the year. And the top 5 best figures of the year. So without any further delay, let's get started. And first on the list for top 5 most disappointing figures of the year is Hasbro's Power of the Primes Battle Trap. I think it was the hype around this with all the people telling me how blown away I was gonna be. And then I got it and I was like, blown away by what? It's clunky, it's clumsy, it's awkward, it's ultimately fine for the price point, but it doesn't live up to any of the hype. People are just very forgiving when it comes to lower price point items and very forgiving when it comes to the main line. And that's why it makes the list. But to be fair, it barely made the list. This one, however, was definitely going to make the list. MMC's Hellion or their Cliff Jumper, either or. It's not a color issue per se, it is a mold issue. I don't expect figures from MMC under any circumstances. That's in spite of my issues with their repaints. That's in spite of my issues with some of their Ocular Max stuff. What I don't expect from MMC are ugly figures. And this figure proportionately is just an ugly figure. It does have a lot of things going for it. It has articulation. It has a fun transformation. It has all of those things. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about disappointment. And I don't expect ugly figures from this company. And that was very disappointing. Next up, sadly, is Hot Toys Darth Vader from Empire Strikes Back. And look, it's not that this is bad. It's just that this is one of my favorite characters from the franchise. It's my favorite representation of this character within the franchise. Hot Toys has been on such an upward swing since I got into the game, and I thought that this was going to be the one to really write home about after not being overly thrilled with the last one I looked at. And the truth is, I'm not. It's fine, it does the job, and it does the trick, and there are a lot of good things about it, don't get me wrong, but little things that I find so annoying, like the shape of his hand to hold the lightsaber, how the helmet is so difficult to really get centered because its ability to come apart for the sake of a gimmick is just not worth it. So this figure was a huge disappointment for me. Once again, displays extremely well, I'm happy to have it, etc., but in terms of being disappointed, it's gotta make the list. And the number 1 most disappointing set for me this year, Unique Toys, Vortex, and Blast Off. And I spoke a lot about this on Friday, so I'm not gonna try to spend a whole lot of time of it now, but it's basically the disappointment comes from the standard that they set with the first 2 releases. They set a standard and a bar of what to expect and then took you somewhere else. It's like calling a cab and asking them to take you to the airport, and you leave going directly en route of travel to the airport, and there's no traffic on the road. He's getting it at like 5 or 10 miles over the speed limit, so you're gonna save a couple dollars on your travels. And then all of a sudden he blows right by the exit to the airport and takes you way the off route. And that's what I felt happened here, and it was a huge disappointment because not only does it make these 2 purchases problematic, it makes the other 3 as well. So there they are, my top 5 most disappointing figures of the year for various reasons. Luckily, I dodged the bullet on purchasing most of them, but I still purchased 3 of them, and that still holds a pretty healthy price tag, so... Next up is our top 5 surprisingly good figures of the year. And what I mean by this is figures that I had a lower expectation for or even a high expectation for, but what I ultimately got ended up being far greater than what I expected. Doesn't mean they're phenomenal figures, doesn't mean they're great figures, doesn't mean they're bad figures, doesn't mean I expected them to be bad figures. It just means I expected one thing and got something better. And we're starting off with Transform and Rollout's Agent Meister. This thing was coming for years. I personally thought it would never see the light of day, and then when it started to look like it might, I figured it was going to be complete trash. And it's not. It's not my preference for the 3 molds, but it's still a solid representation of the character. It's still made fairly well. It's painted well. It's a good figure, and I didn't think it was going to be. So it has to make the list. If Mayfex and I were in a relationship on Facebook, we would classify it as complicated. I've sworn them off in the past. I've sung their praises in the past, but they've definitely been on an upward swing, and so has their price point. But I'm okay for that if it ends ends up feeling like it's worth the money. And this figure surpassed my expectations by far. And I kind of feel like it's representative. Actually, you might say it's the Boba Fett, but either way, it's my first experience where I was like, okay, we might be onto something. And to be honest, every figure that's come out since from them has been very good. I haven't had one complaint in terms of regret since I got this figure. So bravo to them, and I'm excited to see what they have in the future. Number 3. Now, you guys may or may not know how I feel about the Solo film. I have a review of it on this channel, but I'm not crazy about it. It's fine. But this figure is far from fine. It's outstanding. And it really took me back and by surprise. The paint, the sculpt, the articulation, the use of different styles of plastics, etc., paint methods, it all culminates into a very well-made, good-looking, affordable figure available at mass retail. And that is outstanding. And they've been producing high-quality product ever since. But this, I feel like, was a sign, or at least the most indicative sign that we've seen from them in a while of where they were headed. And it kind of set the tone and bar, which in my opinion, they've really only exceeded since. Number 2, Sergeant Commander. I was fortunate enough to be able to take a look at this from Lance. Given TFC's reputation, my firsthand experiences with countless TFC products, I didn't expect very much, especially with them kind of going dark for a while. But I think it's possible with them going dark that perhaps they put their best foot forward and really honed in their craft to create this product. It's extremely well done. It's fun to mess around with. Countless options in terms of playability. The accessories, materials, paint, etc. all works 1000% in its favor, more so than any other product they've ever released, at least in my opinion. And my number 1 most surprisingly good choice of the year are the X-Transbot Stunticons. They are outstanding, and even more so outstanding given my firsthand experience with most of the products this company has created. Unlike those products, these didn't fall apart. These are made with great materials. They are extremely well engineered, extremely well articulated, extremely well painted. I can't say enough good things about them. They're really well done. Obviously, I don't like the translucent plastic choice for Wild Rider. That backfired on me, but still, even given that, I have to say these are surprisingly good figures and have set a new standard in my mind for where X-Transbots is. And there they are, the top 5 figures for me that surprised me pleasantly due to lower expectations in this scenario of all companies involved. And what I got was solid releases at appropriate price points that I'm still enjoying to this day. So top 5 surprisingly good figures of 2018. And now we get to the honorable mention moment of the video. And this year is Jaina Solo. I talked about this on Thursday, which was my birthday, by the way. No big deal. Capricorn's in the house. This figure means a lot to me. My daughter's name is Jaina. It's her namesake. After the EU was sort of discarded, I thought we'd never see a Jaina figure made at this scale. And I was able to get one, in my opinion, with a large help of you guys. I put it out on my Facebook and stuff that the fans' choice vote was up, and all of a sudden Jaina skyrocketed past the competition. It may be a coincidence, but in my experience, coincidence may not be a real thing. So it means a lot to me. It makes me think of my daughter. It makes me think of you guys, and I'm very appreciative. Moving on to bottom worst 5 figures of the year. I'm putting these on again. You know why? Because it's my channel and I can do what I want, and I hate these things. Every time I look at them, I think about the $500 that I lost on this set. On top of the disappointment element, I'm also irritated by the design of the landing gear there. I'm irritated by the tolerances. I'm irritated by the design of the shoulders on Vortex. Like, there's so much wrong with these two, especially in comparison with so much that's done right with the first 2, that I'm putting these on the list again because I hate them. My number 4 is what I call the Deadpool trash. This character is very popular, and he's so edgy because he's gonna talk about his balls. And I know that that's shocking and good fun, but I don't like the fact that I have to buy so many Deadpools to get a decent Build-A-Figure from a Marvel Legends wave. It irritates me. He's not a figure or character that lends himself to that option. Wolverine is, Spider-Man is, and I get that, and I don't complain about it. Deadpool is not, but they're using the same tactics, and it very much bothers me. Number 3 is Generation Toys Katana. This is just not what I expect from this company. I've been a big advocate of this company since it was Warbitron, Transformission, Generation Toy, like whatever name they've gone under, I have liked their product for the most part. And I haven't always been satisfied with everything they put out, but I always find something redeeming about it. But this marks marks a place in time where there's nothing that I find really redeemable about this figure. It's messy, the engineering is wonky, it feels cheap, it just doesn't feel up to the standard that I expect, so I gotta put it on the list. Number 2, old DJ. Just in a world where Hasbro has been knocking Black Series out of the park, this feels terrible. The sculpt is off. It doesn't look remotely anything like Benicio del Toro. The paint isn't of the same caliber that they have brought me to expect, and the articulation suffers for a number of reasons, including design, but also the trench coat that doesn't even really look quite right either. It's just a poorly done 6-inch figure. It just reminds me of kind of lowest common denominator tactics that I've seen from them in the past, but I thought we were beyond. And truthfully, we have been beyond. This last wave of Black Series that came out is the best wave of figures I've ever bought in my life, period. It is phenomenal. That's not to say that every one in there is phenomenal, but just as a wave, tremendous. But this isn't. And my number 1, Alien Attack Farage. This is just junk. And I feel like it's rare that we see junk anymore because our expectations have gone so much further in terms of what we expect. The companies have become so much more experienced and have been able to learn from that experience to produce product at a higher caliber that we rarely see stuff on this level. Stuff that's done this poorly, where the materials are this shoddy and the engineering is this bad. It just seems like this figure was caught in a time machine and traveled back 4 years for me to review it. It's trash. So there they are, the bottom 5 worst figures of the year, in my opinion. Every time I look at any of them, I'm reminded of wasted money. I don't like to be reminded of wasted money, and more so, I don't like to waste my money. And these all do that. All right, now let's get positive. Let's move on to the top 5 figures of the year. The big moment, the biggest. And we're going to start with number 5, Hasbro's Gamorrean Guard. It's just, it's arguably a perfect figure. It's everything that I want. It has all the bells, whistles, accoutrement, if you will, that I look for in a figure, especially at a retail price point. It's crazy. There's no way that this figure should be this good, and it is. It is a credit to the people over there in that department, and it is a credit to what a company can be capable of producing for a main line. Next up is Unique Toys Challenger. It's phenomenal. And the transformation is involved, but it's not obnoxious. It's beautiful and elegant and interesting and feels more like a puzzle than it does like a frustrating nightmare. A lot of times transformations can become overcomplicated and feel like a pain. This doesn't. It just feels like it's the higher caliber of thought process, which isn't necessarily my bag, but I can acknowledge that it's extremely well done. It's sculpted beautifully. It's painted beautifully. There are some balance issues, I agree, but there's enough good things about this figure to make it hit this list due to just how shockingly good it is and how amazing it is that it pulled off what it does. Number 3, Zeta Toys Bruticus, the best Transformer I bought all year by far. And yes, it is 5 Transformers, I understand, but it still deserves its spot. It's extremely well done. It's insanely solid. It's beautiful. It's sculpted well. It has a presence. It has solidity. It's just tremendous. And it's a character that many people love, including myself. And to have a rendition that's this good and this strong is it's a privilege. It's really a privilege to have, and it's not lost on me. So this is my number 3 choice of the year. Number 2, Hot Toys Iron Man Mark IV. It's the best Hot Toys figure I bought. It's also the best figure I bought this year. It is amazing. It is the most incredible thing that I've come across in 2018. Materials, paint, articulation, gimmicks, accessories. There's just no competition for this in terms of what I got. It's just in a league of its own, and that's what puts it at number 2. The number 1 figure of the year. Is the anticipation killing you? Let's make some noise for Flames Toys Drip. It's craftsmanship at its finest. It's pride, it's detail, it's passion, it's experience, it's expertise, it's class. It's just amazing. Now, Tarn also came out this year, but I haven't had the opportunity to take a look at it yet, so I can't put it in this category. But this figure is the most incredible thing that I personally have reviewed or looked at in 2018. It's in a league of its own, especially among the franchise. It's a cut above. And I've said it once, once and I'll say it again. What made this figure special to me was I thought the price was ridiculous until I messed with it. And then I was like, I get it. You deserve every single penny. And I wish them the absolute best. An amazing figure, especially for a first release. Now, I know they have ties to other companies and I know there's experience there, don't get me wrong, but within the Flame Toys brand, first release and an extremely impressive one. So there they are, my top 5 choices for 2018, and it's just all of them have the same thing in common, which is craftsmanship. What's interesting about it is the craftsmanship at different price points and what they're able to achieve within that price point, but all of them exceed their own price point in spite of how high or low that price point may be. Just absolutely fantastic additions to anyone's collection. So there they are, the full list for 2018, in my opinion. And overall, even looking at the poor figures here, it was a pretty good year and everything seems to be, for the most part, improving. So it's nice to see. Once again, I'd like to take a time out at the end of the year for everybody to say thank you to everyone that consumes any bit of my content in any way, shape, or form, shares it, tells somebody about it, whatever. I am truly humbled, grateful, and appreciative of your support. Thank you to everyone that's given me a lot of love and feedback on the Dummies show and Sit Down Saturday, which seems to be most people's favorite thing on my channel these days. It is not unnoticed, and I will continue to push forward with that as much as I can. To all the Nerd Rage listeners, Shattercast listeners, etc., thank you. I think most people get what I do here, and they try to speak the good word to those who don't. So I do think that what happens here is a little bit different than what happens in a lot of places where it seems more so like almost a relationship between the viewership and myself, and I'm grateful for that. It was somewhat by design, and I'm glad that it went off according to plan, and I'm grateful for you guys. So I hope that your holiday was great. I hope you had plenty of time to recover to start the new year. Happy New Year to you. Nothing For Me video premieres at midnight, and I hope 2019 is very successful and prosperous for you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.